I'd like now to ask Rabbi Yitzchok Minkowicz, Shliach of the Rebbe in Southwest Florida, the Gulf Coast. That's, I guess, Keren Treimis Marovis. Loshen from the Mishnah, was Mazak Yede Tag, to come and Farbrengen with us, L'Kovid, Elul, Yem Meledishtei, Meris Hagdeilim, and Achone L'Shnas HaKal. Rabbi Minkowicz.
L'chaim, l'chaim. As a rabbi, we have a tradition. We start with a. Where's the video? Video. We start with a joke. So especially after the rabbi's speech about the tremendous gzeira over here in New York, it reminds me, there's a joke they say, if you want to see what a Jewish telegram is, so you say a Jewish telegram goes as follows: start wearing, details to follow. But I think we all know, especially we're sitting here in the 770 Elul, we know the Rebbe's Shita was, be happy and details to follow. So there's a Simcha from the Rebbe, which I think I had the schus to be here, where the Rebbe said the Simcha in Tavshin Mem Ches. It's actually a Mugadik Simcha, the Shabbos before Chai Elul. And the Rebbe said that the vision of the Baal Shem Tov, who was born in Chai Elul, and this Galus of Chassidus, Klalitz was in Chai Elul, the vision of the Baal Shem Tov was, the whole goal of Chassidus was to bring Mashiach, like the famous letter which is printed in the beginning of Kesser Shem Tov, where the Baal Shem Tov went up to Heichel Mashiach, and he asked him, when is Mashiach going to come? And he responded, so you see clearly the whole idea of Afatz Mayonis was that we should bring the ultimate goal of Ka'asimar, that to have the revelation of Mashiach. And as the Rebbe explains, that we see afterwards the Alter Rebbe continued in the path of the Baal Shem Tov, bringing down the Chassidus to the level of Chabad. And in the language Rebbe uses based on the Zohar, which is Yisparna Sumanei, it should be something we should learn and disseminate in a huge way. And throughout the Chabad Chassidus, the Rebbeim, they would bring more Chassidus to all over the world, up to the point where Baruch Hashem, there's Chassidus today all over the world, every single language. There's no place where you cannot learn Chassidus in any language that you want. So based on that, the Rebbe asks a very simple question. If the whole intent was to bring Mashiach, and the way we were going to bring Mashiach is Hafatz Mayonis, the Rebbe says clearly we accomplished our job. We accomplished our job of Hafatz Mayonis. So here comes the big question. The big question Rebbe asks is, how come Mashiach is not here? If we did our job already, could we do more? The Rebbe says, listen, when Mashiach comes, we can also do more as well. But we did our job in this world. So why isn't Mashiach here? So it's a fascinating sikha. And the Rebbe says like this. He'd like to make a suggestion. And actually, the Rebbe said he'd like to recommend that what's lacking is, for Mashiach to reveal himself is, what's lacking is Simcha b'Tarasa. There's lacking pure Simcha. In other words, if people will be b'Simcha, that would bring Mashiach. Why? And the Rebbe explains very simple. Because we all know Simcha Peiretz Geder. Simcha has the power to break any boundary. So if Simcha has the power to break any boundary, it could bring the boundary of Golus, and we would have Mashiach. The Rebbe also says, we know it says in the Navi, that B'yoyim Simchas Liboy, so what is it referring to? It's referring to Binyan Beis HaMikdash. And the Rebbe brings from the Rebbe Rashab that he explains that in the first and two Batei Mikdashim, you had Simchas Liboy, you had the Simcha of the Beis HaMikdash, but it wasn't complete, because the Haraya, Mashiach is not here. When Mashiach comes, we're going to have the ultimate Simcha. But we know the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that in order to accomplish and to have the Simcha when Mashiach comes, we have to do our avodah today. So if we do our avodah today of being B'Simcha, that will bring his galus of Mashiach. So the Rebbe says, 1 second, if that's so simple, that the Rebbe is making a suggestion, be happy, and Mashiach will come. What, in the past people weren't happy? People aren't happy today? You look around the room, everyone's happy. And the Rebbe explains, and he says something profound, and he says like this. There's two different levels of Simcha. There's a certain level of Simcha that you're happy because life is great. You Baruch Shem 770, you're learning Chassidus, you have Minyanim, you have, life is wonderful, you have what to eat, life is great, but that's not Simcha B'Tarasa. The Rebbe says Simcha B'Tarasa is when you feel the pain of the fact that we're in Galus, and like the things that were mentioned before, and the fact that Shchinta Begalusa, so there's a real reason not to be B'Simcha. But nevertheless, even though you have a reason not to be B'Simcha, but you make the effort in being B'Simcha, that's what will bring Mashiach. And unfortunately, till now that did not happen, because life was good. So the Rebbe is saying is, in a beautiful way, that we have the power today, and Dafka maybe because of these things, that we have the challenges and the struggles and the new Gzeiras, so there's a reason not to be B'Simcha. We're going to be B'Simcha anyway, and by being B'Simcha anyway, that will ultimately bring to Mashiach. And to connect this into Hakel Farbrengen, the Rebbe brings in that Sikh, and he says, very simple, Hakel is also connected to Simcha. Because when is Hakel? Hakel's on Sukkos. And Sukkos is all about Simcha. So I'd like to maybe suggest, I was saying about the oil, someone said to me, what's the Rosh Hashanah for this year? So since the Rebbe says in the Sikh clearly, be B'Simcha, that will bring Mashiach, and the Rebbe says, try it out, and you'll see it will work. So I'd like to recommend maybe the Rosh Hashanah for this year of Tavshin Pei Gimel should be Tehei Simcha Poiretz Geder. Or if you want to be more specific, Simcha Poiretz Galus. Through Simcha, will we break down the walls, of Galus. And if you want a third one, possibly it could be Simcha will be Peseach Gula. Simcha will open up the Gula. It's all there. The key is Simcha. And what's really, really interesting is at the end of that Farbrengen, they sang the Rebbe's father's niggin, and the Rebbe stood up, and he was a tremendous Simcha. Hopefully that we would all wake up and have the Simcha and bring the Gula.